I found out my husband has been secretly paying our neighbor's rent for 3 years. Today I discovered why. When I was balancing our accounts last month, I noticed a recurring payment of $1,200 labeled insurance supplement. We don't have any policy that costs that much, so I asked Mark about it. Just extra coverage, he said, not looking up from his laptop. For emergencies, something felt off. 15 years of marriage teaches you when your partner is hiding something. I let it go temporarily, but started digging. The payments began exactly 3 years ago, right when Mrs. Abernathy moved in next door. She's a quiet widow in her 70s who always brings us tomatoes from her garden. Mark is unusually attentive to her, fixing her porch light, carrying her groceries, checking on her during storms. I started wondering if there was something between them, not romantically. She's older than his mother, but maybe she was blackmailing him. Had he hit her car and was paying her off? My mind created wild scenarios. Yesterday, I finally confronted him. I know you are paying Mrs. Abernathy's rent, I said, showing him the bank statements I'd traced. I need to know why. Mark sat down heavily on our bed. I was going to tell you eventually, he said, his voice breaking. She's my birth mother. I stared at him. Mark was adopted as an infant. His adoptive parents, the only ones I'd ever known as his family parent, had died before we met. She found me 5 years ago, he explained, sent me a letter with photos, birth records. I ignored it at first. I wasn't ready. But then remember that business trip to Chicago 3 years ago? I actually met her for coffee. She was living in a shelter, Catherine. After giving me up, she never had other children, never married, had a stroke that left her unable to work. Tears streamed down his face. I couldn't tell my wife I was suddenly supporting a mother I never knew existed. So I helped her move here, close enough that I could check on her, but I kept it separate from our life. Why not tell me? I asked, hurt, but beginning to understand. Because I was ashamed, he whispered. Not of her, but of myself. For 40 years I resented this woman who abandoned me. Then I met her and learned she was 16 when she had me. Her parents gave her no choice. She spent her whole life wondering about me, regretting losing me, and I've spent 3 years trying to make up for judging her. This morning Mark and I went next door together. Mrs. Abernathy, Sarah Part, opened the door and immediately knew something had changed. When Mark introduced me as his wife, she burst into tears. Over tea, she showed me Mark's baby photos that she'd kept hidden for decades. He had the same cowlick then, she said, reaching out tentatively to touch his hair. I watched my husband lean into his birth mother's touch, his eyes closed. Decades of questions finally answered tonight. I am cooking dinner for 3 instead of 2. Here is so much to learn about the woman who gave birth to the man I love, and so many years of silence to make up for. Sometimes the secrets we keep aren't about betrayal, but about the parts of ourselves we're still learning to accept.